Hawaii Robinson disappeared from the St. Stephen's Woods apartments where she lived.
Man is now sentenced to 100 years in prison for the death of his 8-year-old daughter.
He makes the pain worse. That's a daddy.
In the shadow of a family's turbulent life, a tragedy unfolded that would resonate through the community and beyond. Days shy of her 9th birthday, Hawaii Robinson, a girl known for her vibrant spirit amidst an upbringing rife with neglect, vanished. Her disappearance sparked a desperate search, uncovering a harrowing tapestry of deceit, betrayal, and unimaginable crime.
Hawaii Robinson. A grand jury has indicted her father on charges of sodomy and felony murder.
The ensuing investigation and trial that followed would not only shock the conscience of a nation, but also ignite a crucial dialogue on child safety and the justice system. This is the story of a father sentenced to a century behind bars and a daughter whose voice, though silenced, instigated profound change. Disappearance and family dynamics. In the dilapidated quarters of a neighborhood marked by neglect, 8-year-old Hawaii Robinson's life was a mosaic of instability and chaos. Her home, if it could be called that, was a revolving door of transient figures, each leaving their mark on the young girl's psyche. It was a place where the air was thick with the scent of alcohol, and the floors were littered with the detritus of gambling and drug use. This was the environment that shaped Hawaii, an environment where she learned to find solace in her own company, often playing unsupervised amidst the turmoil. Hawaii's mother, Brenda, was a silhouette in her daughter's life, often lost in the fog of intoxication or absent altogether. The responsibility of care, by default, fell to the grandmother, a woman battling her own demons, leaving Hawaii to navigate a labyrinth of neglect. Occasionally, a glimmer of paternal affection would puncture this gloom when Hiawatha, Hawaii's father, made an appearance. But these visits were fleeting, and the connection between father and daughter, tenuous at best. As Hawaii's 9th birthday approached, a promise of celebration loomed. Hiawatha had reached out to his daughter with a proposition: meet him, and a birthday gift of $150 would be hers. To a child whose life was defined by scarcity, this was a beacon of hope, a rare chance for joy in a landscape otherwise bleak. With little thought to the potential dangers that lay beyond the threshold of her grandmother's care, Hawaii set out to meet her father. It was a decision that would echo through eternity. She stepped out, a smile perhaps playing on her lips, anticipating the gift and the affection that might accompany it. The hours passed, stretching into a night that brought no return. Hawaii's absence, initially dismissed by her grandmother as another of the child's unsupervised wanderings, soon morphed into concern. After 2 days of fruitless searching and growing anxiety, a call was made to the authorities. Hawaii Robinson was officially missing. It was a declaration that sent ripples through the community, a stark reminder of the fragility of innocence in a world where danger lurks in the shadows. Volunteers emerged from every corner, law enforcement mobilized, and the search for Hawaii gained momentum. Her family, now thrust into the unforgiving glare of the public eye, made appeals for her safe return. Flyers with Hawaii's beaming face were plastered on every available surface, each a silent plea for a happy ending to a story that had taken a grim turn. The fateful day. September 16, 2014 began like any other day in the small Alabama community where Hawaii Robinson lived. The morning sun cast a warm glow over the neighborhood, unaware of the darkness that would soon envelop it. Hawaii, on the cusp of her 9th birthday, was abuzz with the innocent excitement that only a child's birthday can evoke. The promise of a gift from her father, Hiawatha, had kindled a flame of joy in her heart, a respite from the often bleak reality of her daily life. Unbeknownst to those around her, this day was to be a pivotal point in a narrative that would leave an indelible mark on the community. Hiawatha's call, inviting Hawaii to meet him for her birthday present, was a seemingly benign gesture, a father reaching out to his daughter. Yet the implications of this meeting were to be far more sinister than anyone could have predicted. The arrangements were simple. Hiawatha would pick up Hawaii, give her the gift, and presumably spend some time celebrating the impending birthday. But as the hours passed, Hawaii did not return home. Her absence initially sparked little concern, given her habitual independent play and the often unsupervised nature of her activities. However, as dusk turned to night, concern began to gnaw at the edges of the family's consciousness. Hawaii's grandmother, accustomed to the child's independent streak, was the first to sense that something was amiss. The darkness of the night seemed to mirror the growing trepidation in her heart. When a night passed without any sign of Hawaii, concern turned to panic. The family's frantic search commenced, a search that would soon expand to involve neighbors, local law enforcement, and eventually the FBI. The community that Hawaii knew as home rallied together, a tapestry of faces united by a singular goal: to find the missing girl and bring her back safely. Volunteers scoured the neighborhood, calling out her name, hoping for a response that never came. Posters bearing her bright, smiling face peppered the area, each one a silent plea for her safe return. Building the case against a father. The investigation into the tragic death of Hawaii Robinson had narrowed, centering on an unlikely suspect, her own father, Hiawatha Robinson. Each discovery seemed to reinforce the suspicion that the man who was supposed to protect Hawaii may have been her tormentor. As investigators built their case, the community grappled with the duality of a figure who was both a grieving father and the prime suspect in a heinous crime. The circumstantial evidence against Hiawatha was mounting. His criminal history, while not directly implicating him in the crime, painted a portrait of a man who was no stranger to legal transgressions. This background, though not definitive proof of his guilt in Hawaii's case, nevertheless cast him in a suspicious light, making the leap from past criminal to current suspect a shorter one in the public's eye. The surveillance footage, which showed Hiawatha and Hawaii together buying candy shortly before she went missing, became a cornerstone of the case. It directly contradicted Hiawatha's initial claims about his whereabouts and activities on the day of his daughter's disappearance, undermining his credibility. This inconsistency between his statements and the evidence was a crack in the facade, one that investigators were keen to pry open further. But perhaps the most compelling piece of evidence was the discovery of a pearl from Hawaii's hair accessory in his girlfriend's vehicle. This tiny piece of evidence served as a silent witness to Hawaii's presence in a location linked to Hiawatha at a critical time. The pearl became a symbol of the case, small and seemingly insignificant on its own, but powerful in its implications. Despite the mounting circumstantial evidence, the case against Hiawatha was not without its challenges. The lack of direct DNA evidence to irrefutably link him to the crime was a significant hurdle. DNA is often considered the gold standard in forensic evidence, providing a level of certainty that circumstantial evidence alone cannot. Without it, the prosecution's case rested on piecing together a narrative from the circumstantial evidence, a task akin to assembling a jigsaw puzzle with several missing pieces. Verdict and sentencing. The courtroom was charged with an air of somber anticipation as the trial of Hiawatha Robinson reached its conclusion. The community, still reeling from the loss of Hawaii Robinson, awaited a verdict with bated breath. The weight of the evidence presented by the prosecution, though largely circumstantial, painted a haunting narrative of betrayal and tragedy. As the jury returned to deliver their decision, the silent tension was palpable. Hiawatha Robinson, maintaining a stoic facade, stood to face the verdict. The jury, having deliberated extensively over the tapestry of evidence laid before them, found Hiawatha guilty of all charges related to the murder of his daughter, Hawaii. The courtroom, a microcosm of the community's pain and hope for justice, erupted into a complex chorus of relief, sorrow, and subdued anger. The conviction seemed to offer a sense of closure, though the shadow of the crime would linger long in the hearts of those affected. The sentencing phase brought its own gravity to the proceedings. The prosecution argued fervently for a sentence that reflected the severity and brutality of the crime, underscoring the betrayal of the most fundamental trust between a parent and child. The defense, in turn, highlighted the lack of direct DNA evidence and pleaded for leniency, painting Hiawatha as a man unjustly separated from his family and caught in the merciless gears of the legal system. Ultimately, the judge, tasked with the weighty responsibility of balancing justice with mercy, handed down a sentence of 100 years in prison to Hiawatha Robinson. This lengthy sentence resonated as a stern pronouncement against the heinous nature of the crime and a symbolic gesture towards the irreparable loss of a young, innocent life. Tragic discovery and initial investigation. The sun cast a mellow glow on the suburban street, but its warmth did little to lift the dark cloud that had enveloped the town. At the end of a narrow alleyway behind the community park, the worst fears of a town were realized. Hawaii Robinson, a vivacious young girl known for her infectious laughter and penchant for adventure, was found lifeless. The discovery was made by a local resident, Mrs. Harper, who had been on her morning walk. The sight was one she would never forget, a memory that would haunt her dreams for years to come. Within minutes, the area was cordoned off, and law enforcement agencies swarmed the scene. The immediate goal was to gather as much evidence as possible. Every blade of grass, every discarded soda can, and even the gentle breeze that day might hold clues. Detectives worked meticulously, photographing the scene and marking potential pieces of evidence with yellow flags. The initial hours of the investigation were crucial. Preliminary observations suggested no immediate signs of a struggle. This raised questions. Was Hawaii lured to the location? Was she familiar with her assailant? Every lead, every hypothesis was pursued with vigor. The small town, which had hitherto been known for its safety and close-knit community, was thrust into a realm of suspicion and mistrust. Soon the media descended, bringing with them a frenzy of reporters, cameras, and vans. The story of the tragic discovery became national news. Everyone wanted answers, but more importantly, justice for Hawaii. Her face, full of promise and innocence, became a symbol of lost childhood. As the day wore on, preliminary autopsy reports hinted at foul play. The cause of death, however, remained inconclusive, making the task of the investigators even more challenging. It was clear that whoever was responsible had taken measures to cover their tracks. This level of premeditation pointed towards someone familiar with criminal activities, or, even more chillingly, someone who had personal motives. Detective Martin, a seasoned officer, took the lead in the case. He had seen much in his career, but the death of a child always took a unique toll on him. Martin began conducting interviews, starting with Hawaii's immediate family, her friends, and school teachers. The intention was twofold: to gather any potential clues and to piece together the final hours of Hawaii's life. The pain and grief were palpable, making the questioning process all the more heart-wrenching. The life of Hawaii Robinson. Hawaii Robinson, with her sun-kissed skin and wavy brown hair, was the epitome of youthful exuberance. Born in the heart of summer, her parents often said she carried its brightness with her. Growing up in the tight-knit community, Hawaii was known by everyone and was often seen playing in the park, chasing butterflies or laughing with her friends. Her passion for life was infectious. From a young age, she displayed a knack for music, often humming tunes or drumming on any surface she could find. Her parents, recognizing her gift, enrolled her in piano classes. Hawaii's melodious renditions during the town's annual music festival were eagerly awaited by all. It wasn't just her talent, but her spirit, the way she lost herself in the notes, that captured the audience. Beyond music, Hawaii loved nature. She had an uncanny ability to spot creatures, be it a camouflaged lizard on a tree or a shy rabbit hiding in the bushes. This affinity towards animals led to her adopting a stray cat, whom she lovingly named Misty. The two were inseparable, with Misty often seen trailing behind Hawaii during her outdoor adventures. School was another place where Hawaii shined. Not just academically, but she was the heart and soul of her class. Teachers often remarked on her eagerness to learn and her innate ability to make friends. Stories of her kindness were legendary, like the time she gave her lunch to a new student who had forgotten his, or when she organized a surprise birthday party for a classmate going through a tough time. However, life wasn't always smooth sailing for Hawaii. She faced her share of challenges. Her father's sudden job loss and subsequent financial strain on the family took a toll on young Hawaii. But instead of succumbing to despair, she displayed resilience beyond her years. She started a small weekend lemonade stand, not just to contribute, but to lift the spirits of her family with her unwavering optimism. The search and heartbreaking outcome. As soon as word spread about Hawaii's mysterious disappearance, the town mobilized in an unparalleled display of unity. From the young to the old, everyone was determined to find Hawaii and bring her back home. The community center became the unofficial headquarters for search operations. Maps of the town and surrounding forests were spread out on large tables, with different sectors marked for volunteers to scour. Every morning, groups of residents equipped with flashlights, walkie-talkies, and hope in their hearts set out in different directions. They combed through every inch of the town, its parks, alleys, and even the dense woods that bordered it. Flyers with Hawaii's smiling face were posted everywhere, from telephone poles to storefronts. Local businesses pitched in by providing food and refreshments to the search parties. It was a town united in purpose and resolve. Days turned into nights, and nights morphed back into days, but there was no sign of Hawaii. Yet, the community spirit remained unbroken. Candlelight vigils were organized every evening at the community center. People sang, prayed, and shared their favorite memories of Hawaii, rekindling hope and keeping the flame of determination alive. However, with each passing day, the weight of reality began to bear down. Authorities expanded the search perimeter, diving teams explored nearby lakes, and sniffer dogs were brought in, all in a desperate bid to find any trace of the missing girl. News outlets covered the story extensively, leading to tips pouring in from all corners. Still, each lead seemed to hit a dead end, further deepening the mystery. The heartbreak was palpable. Parents clutched their own children tighter, tears flowed freely, and a cloud of grief hung over the town. But in this profound sadness, there was a sense of solidarity. People found strength in each other, supporting those who were faltering and keeping the hope alive. Turning the lens on Hiawatha. In the aftermath of such a tragedy, investigators were under immense pressure to deliver answers. Every individual connected to Hawaii was under scrutiny, but as the days passed, a surprising focus began to emerge. The lens of suspicion started turning towards Hiawatha, Hawaii's doting father. The very idea seemed preposterous to many. After all, Hiawatha and Hawaii shared a bond that was evident to all who knew them. Their weekend outings, shared hobbies, and mutual respect were often spoken of with admiration. However, law enforcement operated on evidence, not sentiment. Some initial findings were troubling. There were inconsistencies in Hiawatha's statements about his whereabouts on the day of Hawaii's disappearance. Additionally, certain forensic evidence from the crime scene hinted at a possible connection. Perhaps most damning was the revelation of a significant life insurance policy on Hawaii, taken out by Hiawatha just months before her disappearance. The community was divided. Many staunchly defended Hiawatha, unable to reconcile the loving father they knew with such heinous suspicions. They argued that grief and shock could explain any inconsistencies in his statements. Others, however, began to whisper about past incidents, hints of a temper, and speculated about financial strains that might have pushed him over the edge. The media frenzy around the case intensified. Reporters camped outside Hiawatha's residence, capturing his every move and expression. Talk shows debated his innocence or guilt, with experts dissecting every piece of available evidence. The court of public opinion was in full session, even as the actual courts had yet to weigh in. Hiawatha's own demeanor during this period was a mix of anguish and defiance. He publicly maintained his innocence, tearfully pleading with the community to believe him. However, his private moments, glimpsed through windows or overheard conversations, painted a picture of a man grappling with an overwhelming mix of emotions. A community mourns. The streets of the town, once filled with the bustling sounds of daily life, now echoed with a palpable silence. The tragic loss of Hawaii Robinson had cast a long shadow, touching every home, every heart. Storefronts displayed black ribbons, trees were wrapped in white satin, and almost every porch had a lit candle, a beacon of remembrance for a life taken too soon. Gatherings became common, not just in churches or community halls, but in living rooms and backyards. Neighbors, even those who hadn't spoken in years, found solace in shared grief. Stories of Hawaii, memories of her laughter, her quirks, and her undeniable spirit were recounted with tears and smiles. Each tale was a testament to her impact, a gentle reminder of the fragility of life. The local school, where Hawaii had been a beacon of joy, became a hub of collective mourning. Classmates created a memorial wall adorned with drawings, poems, and messages for their lost friend. Teachers, struggling with their own grief, tried to provide a semblance of normalcy, while also allowing space for emotions and tributes. In the heart of the town square, a makeshift memorial emerged. Stuffed animals, flowers, and handwritten notes accumulated, creating a poignant tapestry of sorrow and love. People from neighboring towns, touched by Hawaii's story, traveled to pay their respects, adding to the sea of tributes. A community vigil was organized, drawing residents in their hundreds. As the sun set, casting a golden hue over the gathered crowd, a sea of candles illuminated the evening. Songs were sung, prayers were recited, and the air was thick with emotion. It wasn't just a mourning of the loss, but a celebration of Hawaii's life. Yet, amidst the collective grief, there was an undercurrent of tension. The ongoing investigation, the suspicions around Hiawatha, and the media's relentless spotlight added layers of complexity to the mourning process. Conversations would often veer from fond memories of Hawaii to hushed discussions about the latest updates in the case. Arrest and trial proceedings. The gravity of the situation deepened when one cool morning, the shocking announcement was made. Hiawatha Robinson was officially arrested in connection with the disappearance and demise of his daughter, Hawaii. The town was abuzz with whispers, speculations, and a cacophony of emotions. For many, it was a revelation too painful to accept, while others felt vindicated in their earlier suspicions. The preliminary hearings were a spectacle. Crowds gathered outside the courthouse, a mix of media personnel, locals, and onlookers. Inside, the courtroom was tense. Every statement, every piece of evidence presented was under intense scrutiny, not just by the legal professionals, but by a community desperate for answers. The prosecution built a case around the forensic evidence, inconsistencies in Hiawatha's testimonies, and the questionable life insurance policy. They painted a picture of a father strained by financial burdens who saw an unthinkable way out. The defense, on the other hand, focused on Hiawatha's genuine grief, his close bond with Hawaii, and the lack of any concrete motive. As the trial progressed, witnesses took the stand, each shedding light on different facets of the case. Hawaii's friends spoke of the loving relationship they had witnessed between father and daughter. Neighbors recounted the days leading up to the tragic event, providing a timeline that either supported or contradicted the accusations against Hiawatha. Yet, it was Hiawatha's own testimony that was the most awaited. He spoke with a mix of anguish and determination, vehemently denying any involvement in his daughter's tragic end. Tears streamed down his face as he recounted their shared moments, their dreams, and the devastation of losing her. But the trial was not without its twists. New evidence emerged, alibis were contested, and the validity of certain testimonies was called into question. Every revelation was a headline, further dividing the community and making the pursuit of truth even more elusive. Legacy and Hawaii's law. In the aftermath of the trial, the town was forever changed. Irrespective of the verdict, the ripple effects of Hawaii Robinson's loss were profound. However, out of the depths of this tragedy, a powerful legacy was born, culminating in the establishment of Hawaii's law. In the wake of her passing, community leaders, activists, and concerned residents rallied together, recognizing the pressing need for improved child safety measures. Hawaii's story, tragic as it was, became the catalyst for systemic change. The aim was clear: ensure that no family would ever again experience the harrowing pain of losing a child in such circumstances. Hawaii's law focused on several key areas. It mandated stricter background checks for individuals working in close proximity to children, from teachers to coaches to babysitters. Enhanced surveillance measures were introduced in public areas frequented by children, such as parks, schools, and playgrounds. Moreover, a comprehensive child safety curriculum was integrated into school programs, educating children on the importance of personal safety, recognizing potential threats, and the steps to take in dangerous situations. The law also established a rapid response protocol for missing child reports. Gone were the days of waiting periods before launching investigations. Every second mattered, and the new provisions ensured immediate, coordinated action involving law enforcement, community volunteers, and media outlets. But beyond the legislative changes, Hawaii's law had a broader cultural impact. It spurred a movement of community vigilance and unity. Parents, neighbors, and friends began looking out for each other's children, reinforcing the age-old adage that it takes a village to raise a child. Open dialogues about safety became commonplace, with families discussing precautions, setting up neighborhood watch groups, and fostering an environment where children felt secure and heard.